I think that we see that the two countries are well in sync. In contrast to other press conferences with previous American officials, there was no disagreement, no allusion to a disagreement. Both agree on the Middle East agenda. Iran is the main issue. Gaza, no Hamas after a while. Lebanon, we have to disarm Hezbollah. In Syria, Israel, as well as Americans, will not agree to establishing a threat to Israel and to regional security. So I think the Israelis should be very pleased with this meeting.
I mean, what do you think Marco Rubio is bringing to the table that is different from Antony Blinken, let's say? I mean, you reference obviously the position on Iran, but of course it was the Biden administration that supported Israel when Iran attacked it with drones last year.
Yes, but Biden administration actually imposed an arms embargo on Israel. It pressured Israel to allow more and more humanitarian aid, which actually went to Hamas and helped Hamas to buttress its position in Gaza. Those were obviously things that were mistakes on part of the Americans. They also intervened in how we should manage the war. They wanted raids instead of conquering areas. So there were some disagreements between the United States and Israel, despite the fact that the Biden administration was indeed supportive of Israel following the October 7 atrocities against Israel.
Prime Minister Netanyahu has again threatened to reignite the military campaign in Gaza if Hamas does not return all of the hostages. Of course, there was the risk earlier this week of the ceasefire breaking down due to claim and counterclaim about how the Phase 1 process was being implemented. Of course, there is the Phase 2, which we await talks to start. How serious do you take that statement?
I take it seriously. I think that it is evident that the Trump administration, despite its wish to end the war, definitely wants the hostages back into Israel and also to eradicate Hamas. And this can be done only by Israeli military actions. Americans are not going to send troops to finish the job.
And how did you react when you first heard President Trump's claim about displacing a lot of the residents of Gaza and turning it into the Riviera of the Middle East?
It is a radical plan. I have my doubts if it can be implemented. But obviously many Gazans, and there are polls about it, are more than willing to emigrate to find a better place. After all, living under Hamas was not a great pleasure.
Oh, but of course, it is true as well, sir, isn't it, that many don't want to be displaced and that Gaza is their home, and doing so forcibly by the United States or any foreign entity would be considered a war crime?
I don't think the Israeli army will force anybody to leave the Gaza Strip, and I think there will be incentives in order to make them leave. And if it works, of course, it's a radical, good solution. If it doesn't work, we'll have to find other ways to deal with the threat from Gaza to Israel and to re-educate the Gazans in order not to be terrorists or to support terrorists.
But just to be clear, you believe that moving indigenous Gazans from the Gaza Strip and creating a Riviera of the Middle East would be a good thing?
Yeah, if as Gazans cooperate, yes, and they're allowed to come back afterwards, why not? I think we should not adhere to old notion what's good for the people.
But opponents of the plan believe that Gaza should be rebuilt for Gazans and not for anyone else.
Some people are moving all directions throughout history, and we should take a longer view, about what's good. If the Gazans are given a better opportunity to live their lives and to educate their children, I don't think that we should stand against them.
Where do you see this partnership now with the United States and or the new administration, let's say, in the United States? You've highlighted some of the perhaps problems that were there with the Biden administration. Where do you see this kind of new partnership with the United States and Israel going?
Well, I think there will be closer security relations. There will be no arms embargo. There will be less vegetarian attitude toward humanitarian aid to Gazans and to Hamas, and maybe greater cooperation in expanding the Abraham Accords to Saudi Arabia and maybe other countries. This is the goal of Trump.
And one of the main topics today was, of course, the threat posed by Iran, and the Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, saying that there can be no nuclear Iran. What's your take on how that threat is going to be suppressed, or is this now going to see almost an escalation to the point where Iran feels effectively like it's threatened by both the United States and Israel, and a conflict breaking out there?
First of all, I think it exists now a credible threat after the Israeli Air Force was successful in destroying a large part of the air defense system of Iran. I'm not sure that Trump is ready for military action unilaterally or together with Israel. Although I'm convinced that there is no other way to deal with the Iranian nuclear project but by force. Maybe Americans will try to reach some kind of agreement, a more stringent JCPOA. And if this doesn't work, probably they will be more inclined to give an amber light, a green light to Israel to do the job.
So you anticipate effectively a military solution to Iran's nuclear project?
This is the only solution available.